Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss, only on LA Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to What Women Want Talk Radio. I'm here with my co-host, Kristin West, and our show tonight is Dream Life or Still Dreaming. As Kristin says, it's conversation that feeds your mind and energizes your spirit. I love that. Kristin, a dream life or career can mean many different things to different people, depending on the perspective I'm thinking. And sometimes I feel like I'm living my dream life, and sometimes I feel like I'm not. What about you?
I was thinking about this myself, and sometimes dreams get really weird. Like things will be like pleasant, and then in the middle something weird will happen, and then it'll be pleasant again. So if you think about it that way, I'm definitely living my dream life.
And sometimes you're living your nightmares too. As a horror film actress, I can imagine that would, get into the brain sometimes a little bit, and work in there. And our guests tonight are going to fill us in on what their way of thinking gets into their perspectives. JoAnn Thomas, the founder of the Fantastic Horror Film Festival in San Diego. Talk about a dream job. There it is. And Greta Jaeger, a licensed professional counselor whose company is, get this, coachingyourdreams.com. And they will tell us about the flip side of perhaps too much dreaming. Okay, I want to thank our listeners, you guys out there, 3.5 years, and we've hit almost 900,000 downloads, and our numbers are climbing, and it's very exciting. So thank you so much for your support. I think the number is 893,000 or something like that when I got the report from Sam. So if you haven't subscribed, you should. Please do so on iTunes or visit our archives on LA Talk Radio's website, latalkradio.com. And guess what? We're also on YouTube. Thank you to Kristin. It looks amazing. It sounds amazing. And I am so excited to be on YouTube. Okay, so besides being one of the hosts of this awesome radio show, I am also a TV host, a regular contributor on NBC and Fox. I founded the company What Women Want Networking 6 years ago, and we just hosted our first national conference, I'm proud to say, in Atlanta about a week and a half ago. Wow, what a weekend. Women flew in from all over the country. Our motto is Connect, Encourage, and Inspire, so it was really exciting. And we have several regional chapters spanning from coast to coast at whatwomenwantnetworking.com. I'm also a St. Martin's Press author and freelance writer for New York Lifestyles magazine, and I'm the mom of twin girls who are now 13 years old. Unbelievable. Kristin, tell our listeners about your beautiful self, your background. I heard you're nominated for a screenwriting award at the Fantastic Horror Film Festival in San Diego coming up, and you helped produce and direct the awards show for it also. Is there anything you can't do?
Sometimes working the soundboard is a little challenging, but I have been part of the Fantastic Horror Film Festival. I've had films play there for the past few years. I'm always excited to be a part of it. I am in a lot of horror films. The Lich is coming out later this year, Hell's Kitty, which I hope will show at the festival sometime soon. And I'm just excited, of course, to be on the radio with you week after week. And the conference was great, too. That was probably the highlight of my year. So,
you know what? I was so honored that you were there and that we got to, even though we didn't get a picture of it, which is totally ridiculous, that we got to walk the red carpet together. But it was just such an amazing time. And I was just so flattered that you came in from California to join us and, we could really get to know each other. So it was really nice.
It was amazing to meet all of the women and to experience their hunger and their commitment to their self-empowerment and their self-growth. And everybody there had a dream life that they were pursuing or that they were living. And it was so excited to see such an empowered community of women doing that. And
also helping each other while they're doing it. So it basically is like, I want to do this, but I'll help you get yours too.
Exactly. And that's so refreshing that is happening in more and more spaces, especially in the dialogues that we create here. One of the things is that we were talking about at the conference was how sometimes women compete against each other instead of uplifting each other. And I think everybody at the conference came away with this healthy camaraderie, which was so exciting. And I know our next guest, JoAnn Thomas, is all about that. She's created a dream life for herself in creating one of the most respected horror film festivals in the United States, the Fantastic Horror Film Festival. JoAnn is the woman in charge of this film festival. I love the title that she gives herself. And along with her husband, Mike, they have the film festival, which is now in its 4th year, and it shows over 35 films over 3 days. And it also features an award ceremony giving 20 awards, including the prestigious Lon Chaney Award, which celebrates excellence in horror. Former winners of the Chaney Award include Clive Barker and our recent guest, Bill Oberst Jr., and the festival runs October 27th through 29th at the Ultra Star Theater in San Diego. Welcome back to the show, JoAnn.
I think we might have lost JoAnn.
Oh, no. Let me try.
Did we lose her?
Let me try.
We might have to try to call her back. The thing I'm impressed about with this festival, as you're dialing, JoAnn, is that I want to say is that it's her 4th year doing this, and it seems to really attract a high profile team of people, from all of the judges to the celebrities that show up to right down to the quality of the movies that are being submitted into the festival. So this is really fascinating stuff to me, because I have done a lot of TV hosting, and I've produced as far as I was a casting director producer on the print side of the industry, and of course I was a model. So this whole other way of entertainment, in my mind, movies and making the films and producing them, is just fascinating. Kristin, are you still there? Okay. All right. So we have JoAnn Thomas has somehow fallen off the line. So we're going to get her back in just a second. And like I said, I really am excited to speak to her, because this whole horror film industry is foreign to me. Although my co-host is, a superstar in the industry. She's a horror film actress, and she produces and screenwrites. And the fact that these women, they're living their dream life, but they're not just doing one thing, and they're not just good at one thing. So Kristin is acting and producing and screenwriting, and she's helping the Fantastic Horror Film Festival actually with, I guess, the award ceremony. She's producing and directing some of the videos. So multi-talented.
That's right, Judy. And I think we got JoAnn back on the line. JoAnn, are you there?
I'm here.
My goodness, JoAnn, did the boogeyman get you?
I don't know. It was a surprise to me.
Well, we gave you a glowing introduction, and now we have you back, and now we get to talk to you. So, JoAnn, I wanted to just charge right in. You call yourself the woman in charge. Why did you give yourself that title for your film festival leadership?
Because I do most of the background work. I take care of just about all the paperwork. Mike is more into watching the films and reviewing them and that type of thing. But when we started the festival, I basically said, okay, we're going to do this, and did everything we needed to do to get started.
Was this a lifelong dream for you? Was this something that you had wanted? No. How did it get started? I never even considered doing something like this. In fact, I'd say 10 years ago, it was the furthest thing from my mind. That's amazing. What caused you to decide to take on this horror film festival circuit? What sparked your interest?
Okay. At that point, when I moved here to San Diego, my husband had been here a year and was doing film reviews for all kinds of different filmmakers and different things. And we were spending a lot of time traveling to LA for different screenings and festivals and different things. And then one day he took me to see Children of Sorrow, which is like one of my all-time favorite horror movies, starring Bill Oberst Jr. And that kind of started things a little bit. And then about a year later, we had gone to a festival, which I will remain nameless. And we got there in time for when the screening was, but then they didn't screen the film. It was supposed to be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they screened it at 11:30 at night.
Wow.
By that time, everybody that was there for the screening was gone.
I mean, no pun intended, but that's horrifying to sit there and wait all that time to watch what you need to watch or do what you need to do. That's completely unorganized.
It was pretty sad, and in fact, at the time, the only people there was the director, his friend, Mike, and I, and maybe 2 other people in the theater. And we had just kind of said we could be more organized than this, because we'd been doing stuff for organizations, a pharmacy organization or 2, and a few other things over the years. And so we already understood the importance of being on time. Of course, that's also part of our theater background, because my husband worked in a local theater in Philadelphia for about 40 years. And I was there for over 20. So we learned early on that the show goes on, and the show goes on time, whether you're on the stage or you're not on the stage. So we made that kind of a focal point for our festival, that when we say the movie starts at 5 o'clock, it starts at 5 o'clock. And it doesn't matter whether you're standing on the red carpet waiting for pictures or whatever you're doing. If you're not in there, it doesn't matter. It's still going to start on time.
I know that I appreciate this about your festival so much, and I know other filmmakers do too. Now, one thing I want to point out about your festival, which since its inauguration a few years back, you've had films that have gone to your festival nominated for the very prestigious Rondo Hatton Award. You've also started the Lon Chaney Award. What do you think is the most surprising thing you've learned about horror movies and horror film or horror fans? What was something that you didn't know before you got into this epic journey you've been on?
I guess I would say that the horror film community, particularly independent horror film community, is full of some really amazing people. They take care of each other, they care about each other, they fight with each other, but they all seem to come back to being a unique family.
That's interesting. And I know that to be true myself. I mean, when you have projectile cottage cheese snot being projected at you and you're covered in fake blood, you have to sort of establish an intimacy and a trust of the people around you. Now, I want to know, since you...
Wait, I want to hear more about the effects.
Well, I'm not a special effects expert, although, JoAnn, have you seen any cool effects?
Probably. But we have a special effects person coming this year to do one of our seminars. His name is Michael Dietzen.
Dinitz?
No, Dinitz. Ugh.
Michael Dinitz.
And you know his name, right?
Yes.
And he has a lot of film credits. In fact, he's done a couple TV shows, and he's going to be speaking to our filmmakers and whoever wants to come on Saturday.
Michael has an impressive resume. Please look him up on IMDb. The way you spell his last name is Dinetz, I believe, but he is doing some amazing work on television. I'm personally hoping to get to attend that seminar myself. Now, you've seen all of these films, and you get films not just from the U.S., not just from California. You really are a world film festival. What country have you gotten a film from that you haven't expected to get a film from?
Well, the first year we got our first international film. It was actually 2 of them from Italy. And that was probably the biggest surprise for us. In fact, one of the filmmakers that submitted the first year has submitted every year to our festival, and actually has a feature film coming out next year, which I am sure he will submit.
Well, that's amazing. Now, I wanted to ask you, where is horror heading? What is there anything new, different, or trendy? Are the werewolves hot this year, or is it the mummies? Tell me, JoAnn. I want to know.
Well, for our festival this year, what's hot is horror comedy.
Really?
Since you've been to our festivals, we kind of pride ourselves in doing some rather unusual things, and this year is no exception. Let's see, who do we have? We have Garden Party Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
We have Attack of the Killer Chickens.
Oh, wow. I've seen this film. That's Genevieve Rossi's film, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And we have the Toxic Tutu.
Toxic Tutu. Now, is this film Toxic Tutu, or is that from the same gentleman who does Toxic Avengers? Is that correct?
Yes, it is, and Mark Torgel will be here, the original Toxic Avenger.
I cannot emphasize enough how on the cutting edge JoAnn is, because Toxic Avenger was profiled on John Oliver maybe not even 2 weeks ago. So you really are doing cutting edge stuff. And the titles alone, Judy, don't you think, would you see Attack of the Killer Chickens? When I hear that, it puts a smile on my face. Does it? Right? You just chuckle, right?
Well, you know what? When I was thinking to myself and speaking out loud while you guys were trying to get JoAnn back on the line, I did say how impressed I was with the high profile, not just judges and celebrities and people that go to this film festival, but also the movies, the quality of the movies that are made and produced. It's very impressive. And this is only her 4th year. So that's even more so.
It's true. So, JoAnn, I want to ask you something. I've been asking you a lot of things, but I want to know, obviously as women, and I think this has been a theme this week, is that we need to empower ourselves in the arts more. And in all areas of life, but especially the arts. What advice would you give to a woman wanting to start her own arts festival? Or any, like a film fest or a play fest? With all this experience you've had, what advice would you give somebody?
I would say do the research first and find someone that can help you, that can mentor you, because it is not an easy path. And then you have to also keep in mind, whenever you do anything, that you always have to have a plan B, C, D, and E, because we have so many plot twists in our festival that I have to be ready at any given moment to make a quick change. For example, with our first year, we decided we were going to do the thing like we did with some of our big events that we did in the past with organizations, and got a hotel, and we ran out of money. And the last day of our festival, we didn't have any place to have our award ceremony. So I just kind of walked across the street to the nearest bar, talked to the manager, and got the bar for the night. And that's where our awards were given out.
Well, I think that speaks to your amazing persistence. And persistence pays off. And I think, JoAnn, that persistence is really what you need to have to actualize any dream, especially one that involves being in entertainment or doing an event. You really have to have the persistence. And Judy, you probably had to have dogged persistence to make the conference what it was, right?
Oh, seriously. Any kind of producing and background work, really, it's all about organization and consistency and the flow of everything. And you really have to be a natural born producer to put something on, JoAnn, like you're doing. I do know how many details and the tedious work that goes into it. And a film festival is even much more so, because you don't just have, like I had a conference and I had speakers and I had attendees, but you go into much more depth with submissions. From what I understand, basically you have the film festival in a couple of weeks, and then you start receiving submissions for the next year right away. Isn't that right?
We've already received 10 submissions for 2018.
Oh, amazing.
We start in August. Actually, we close off the year, and then we start the next day. So we take submissions year round.
And how are the films chosen? Who weeds out all of these films? And do you have a specific team that does it, or do you bring people in throughout the year? How does it work?
We have some judges, and sometimes we add to them, and sometimes they leave. But, we have a group of judges. They review all the films, and hopefully the screenplays. However, what we do at the end, when I get closer to the cutoff date, I take a look at the ratings that they give, and what I do is I start with the highest rated film that they picked, and I go down the list until I fill the roster.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, and to be honest with you, I do not watch the films before they go to the theater, and then I don't get much time at the theater because I'm busy doing all the other work. But I don't normally see the films. Our reviewers do all that. And it kind of makes it a little bit more, I'm not sure the word I want here, kosher, maybe, because I'm the one, I'm the one that collects all the data.
Because you can't pick any favorites.
Right.
Is that what you mean? Mm-hmm. That's great.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I would add, JoAnn, one of the great things about your film festival is it's not just a random film student watching your film. It's actually a film critic with some gravitas in the horror film community, which is one of the standout things about your festival. And we don't hide who they are. Right, exactly.
I mean, we don't, and we allow them to actually review the films over the course. If they want to put it out on their page or whatever, they review this film, they're allowed to do that unless the filmmaker says no way. So, we give them a little bit of leeway, more so than some of the other festivals do.
Now, JoAnn, I want to ask, what is your next big dream for this film festival? Obviously, you're actualizing a dream. What's the next big step for you?
So she's living a dream life and dreaming.
Right.
Actually, it would be to make some money. Well, we're going on our 5th year, and I am really hoping that in 2018 we're going to have a big blowout party for the 5th year, and that a lot of our.
Oh, I think we just lost JoAnn again. Okay, so I wanted to ask her what the Lon Chaney Award was, because that seemed to be a huge award that is offered at her film festival every year. And I believe the first year Bill Oberst got the award, who is someone that we've had on the show. And I actually had the honor of going and seeing his one-man show on Broadway a few weeks ago. So that was exciting. Ray Bradbury's Pillar of Fire. So, okay, I'm not sure if we're going to get JoAnn back or we're going to move to Greta, but I am curious about, what if you're not living this glamorous Hollywood dream life in the entertainment world, or something that's so creative as what JoAnn does, and producing film festivals and bringing in, movie producers and directors from all over the world, really. So if you're not living your dream life at this point, what do you do? Or how do you know if you are living your dream life? Some people don't even know. Some people don't even realize that they actually are happier than they are. So Greta Jaeger is about to come on and let us know what we can do about that and how we can really, truly be happy and really take the tools, the basic tools that she has and live her dream life. So Greta has over 18 years of experience as a counselor and a life coach. As a professional speaker, therapist, and life coach, she's helped thousands across the country deal with their trauma and blocks. And I'm going to ask her about this too, because I have this need to know about what kind of blocks we may have and how do we find them out, because I know they sometimes live in the subconscious and we don't even realize we have them. Her first book is coming out in January, and it's called G Cubed for Grace, Gratitude, Growth, and Greatness. And I believe that we're about to bring her on the show in just a minute.
Actually, Greta, are you there? Hello?
If she is, it's right on time.
Okay, well, let me try that again. One moment. I'm so sorry, Judy. Just a second.
That's all right. It was interesting because Greta had on her website Miss USA, who she had coached, I guess, maybe before she won Miss USA and on into her winning it. And, she was really talking about how someone like Greta, a coach, can really guide you through a dream life that you would really either, that you can visualize or maybe that you can't see and that you need help on really pulling that out of you and what you really want. Because from what I understand, it's all about clarity and really getting clear on what you want and putting it out there and asking for it. And I'm curious as to the combination of Greta's book, Grace, Gratitude, Growth, and Greatness, because Greta herself is such a lovely woman. When you meet her, she's got this just calming demeanor. And she's actually, I'm going to admit, full confession here, she's coached me on a couple of things. And she just has such a great perspective of how to really center yourself and get inside yourself and figure out what you really want and how to, get it, but calmly. So sometimes we go about things and we're busy in life and we really lose sight of what we really want and how we're, going after it. So the best thing is to lay out a plan.
Hi, Greta.
Oh, speaking of Greta.
Yes.
Oh my goodness,
Yes, hey.
I feel like we're jinxed. It's because we're talking about horror movies.
There's a ghost on the line.
Right. Welcome to the show, Greta. Judy's going to take it from here. Poor thing.
Greta, I've given you like a 22-minute introduction here. I was actually
wonderful.
Yeah, I was talking to myself. What the thing I ended with was the G Cubed for Grace, Gratitude, Growth, and Greatness. Congratulations on your book. I have to tell you that we have this tradition of guests coming on the show that have books coming out and they become bestsellers. So you're very lucky to be on this show right before your book comes out because that's the tradition. And I'm very excited to see it shoot to the top.
I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah. So Greta, are you living your dream life?
I am. Although, as I move through my dream life, I get new dreams. And yes, I am definitely living my dream life.
You live a dream life. Okay, hold on. You get a new dream. Okay, so you can be living your dream life and still have those dreams and working on moving forward with them.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's actually important
to have new dreams and keep kind of evolving, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So in your introduction, you talk about blocks, and I was talking about this a little while ago while they were trying to get you on the line. What are blocks, and how do we either find them or control them? Because I know sometimes they can be in the subconscious, right?
Yes. And so one of the things that when I introduce myself is I talk about how I treat trauma and blocks a lot in the same way, getting people past them. And it probably sounds weird to people that trauma and blocks would have similar things, but if you think about trauma and how much pain it brings people, it stops them from being able to see what they need to do for the next step or the next goal, the next dream, whatever it might be. And so with blocks, it's very much the same, but it's actually in some ways subtler because you don't always know that you're even blocked. You just know you're not moving forward, that you're stuck. And you want to do that. So what do you do? How do you and I'm asking my own question when you guys are supposed to be running the show.
No, and you're still on the line, so it's all good. I think I've done enough talking for the entire show, so please go on.
Go on, Greta. Just tell us what's really going on inside. Ask us any question you want. We're both traumatized.
Right. So basically, what do you do when you come up against a goal and you're not making any progress? And one of the things that I help people do right away is figure out that you can't figure out how to get past a block if you just stay in your head and keep listening to all the noise that's going on.
The voices.
Yeah, all the different voices. They're all ours, obviously, but they have lots of different people that have brought them into our lives, like our parents, our friends, our teachers, whatever it may be.
Yeah, but don't they say, listen to your voice, listen to your inner voice.
Well, yeah, but these are not your inner voices. These are your inner doubts.
So how do we separate these voices, in our head from the ones that are telling us what to do and the ones maybe that are, not supposed to be the voices we're listening to?
So what I like to do is teach people how to quiet their mind so they can actually hear the inner voice versus all the noise. And for a lot of people, that noise is negative thinking. There's other people where it's really positive, but there's just so much noise that they're distracted all the time with, let me do this test, let me do that test, let me do this test. And none of it has to do with building their business, achieving their goal, or making money.
I talk about having too many dreams maybe and being only a dreamer, right?
Right. Yes.
And I noticed on your website it says aim high. And I'm sure this is one of the things that you're talking about, probably that wraps into what you were saying. Isn't there a danger of aiming too high and being disappointed?
Well, some of that depends on actually your stress tolerance, the kind of person that you are. Some people can aim really, really high and it doesn't bother them at all. They're just going to go for it. And other people, they need to aim high, but aim maybe only a little bit higher than what they're comfortable. Because if you aim too high for how much stress you can manage, you're going to freeze up and not get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I bet a lot of it has to do with our perspective, I'm thinking.
Yes. And a lot of it has to do with character and personality styles too. I mean, if your character is there is no mountain that I can't climb, you're probably good to go and very confident in things. But if your character and your personality is more like, well, I really want to get to this goal, but I'm a little bit nervous, I'm a little bit scared, there's some things that, how am I going to do this? And I'm not trying to get on women, but we have to worry about our kids too a lot of times, and all these other things, and they get in the way of us sometimes going for it when we would otherwise have gone for it.
Is this a function of
ain't that
whether,
the truth? Go ahead, Kristin.
Is this a function of whether or not you're an optimist, a pessimist, or a realist? Because you were writing about that in your blog, and I thought that was really fascinating, some of the points you brought up there.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect time to bring that up. Optimists, although when you study them, they're not realistic about actually how good they are or how great their strengths are or how much people like them. They overestimate it. But because they overestimate, how good they are, how good they're doing, they just seem to coast through things. They see opportunities and they move on them. Where negative people, they think nobody likes them, life sucks, and they never see an opportunity when it arises because their head's down and all they can think about is how much pain they're in. So the realist is great. I mean, it's good to be a realist, but sometimes the realist has a tendency to be a little bit negative. They might be seeing things how they're really happening, but sometimes what's really happening sucks. Okay, so now what do you do?
Well, that was very forthright. Yes, some things that are happening definitely
and you have
suck.
to mitigate that.
No, it's true. And you know what, Greta? You also have to keep going. And we actually had the pleasure of meeting each other at the conference, and that was the theme. How do we keep going towards that dream in a way that's healthy, that's not like Don Quixote on steroids, but still grounded in a reality?
Sure. So I love that question. And one of my favorite things to tell people is if you don't have a good self-care regime,
then you're going to struggle with any goal that you go for. If you don't take care of yourself and have good friends around you, and when I say good friends, those friends have to be supportive of whatever your dreams are. Okay, and if you have a good self-care routine, you have good friends around you, and you take that leap, you got to keep that support network and those skills with you while you do that, or you're going to burn out. And you also need to know that when you're trying to make these things happen, this trip is going to be more like a roller coaster. It's going to be up and down. It's not going to be linear. And if you aren't committed to being on the ride all the way to the end, then you're going to get off before you get to where you want to go.
And you might puke on someone.
What was that?
I said you might puke on someone if you're not careful.
On the roller coaster,
Well,
right? I'm sure.
Well, yeah, you might.
You know,
you
it's
might,
true.
but
And, Kristin, you and I haven't exactly picked the most, linear careers. So that
Right.
is something I think, I don't know, Greta, but you could probably answer this because, you're the therapist, but do more creatively driven people have more emotional ups and downs?
I don't know about that. I think, maybe they do, in the sense that they allow themselves to be maybe more in touch with that a lot of times than people that tend
So
to be
it's more
more,
outward. It's more
structured.
outward.
Yeah, definitely more outward. But I see with the people I work with, somebody who's more structured, they're just going to talk about how hard it is. Like, well, it's stressful. They're not going to go into, well, I feel overwhelmed and lonely right now.
I want to know about your book, Grace, Gratitude, Growth, and Greatness. I said that without messing it up, boy. And Greta, so you have all the GRs here.
I'm totally covered with G's. Yes.
I love it. No, GR too. Grace, Gratitude, Growth, and Greatness by Greta. Go ahead. Tell us about the book.
How funny. I didn't even notice that. I actually wrote this book a number of years ago when I had this dream that I was going to break into writing books and be this fantastic coach and all this. And I wrote it because I thought at the time, and I still believe this, that a lot of these coaches and gurus and spiritual leaders and therapists and all that we talk sometimes so far over people's head with what the next step is and how to evolve a person that they don't have any of the skills to make it to the next level. And so my goal was to sort of talk about my journey through my own growth and learning these things. And I'm still very much in it. Like I don't espouse to think, and I'm going to call the book G Cubed, I think. I don't think that I'm great. I think everybody's great. I don't think that I'm the most graceful person in the world, but I know everybody has grace. And it's just learning that when we implement things like grace and gratitude and growth, that we put those into our lives. If we try to do it every day, you will see tremendous change in your life in a short period of time. And that doesn't always equate to your business making it in the next 6 months, but it does equate to things like you feel better about yourself. You make progress in your business. You make progress in your career. You make progress maybe in dating, whatever it may be. So I might have rambled a little bit, but
no, that's okay. You're actually making us think a bit. Kristin, I feel like we're always coming back to this inner self. This center that we need to develop and let blossom outward, right?
Yes.
Because it really does all start with yourself. So, in your book, do you go into steps on how to create that? If you don't really have a place to start, or how's the book written?
So I'm rewriting it right now, and my goal is going to be that people will walk away with the basic skills to start feeling like they're grounded in their life and they can achieve their goals, whatever those goals might be. So yeah, there'll be a lot of skills in there, and stories about how I have gotten to where I am now.
Oh, I love that. And I did say, I don't know if you were on the line or not because you were on and off and on and off.
Yes.
And but I did say that, I had the pleasure of going through coaching with you, and you were such just an incredible force for me to really, because I've been through a spiritual journey for the past few years, as far as researching and learning and meditating and I've been through a lot of things, and you really taught me to how to bring something in to myself, even though I felt like I already knew a lot about that. You really kind of almost took me from up there and pulled me down and said, okay, let's get back to the basics. And I love that about you, because and like you said, we need to stop talking over people's heads and giving them all these, theories and ideologies and everything about what they should and shouldn't do, right?
Yes. I think in most cases, life is simple. It might not always be easy, but it's simple.
Yeah, we got to bring it down to back to basics, right? I have a question, and I'm just wondering if we could be subconsciously, maybe, because I feel like in the subconscious you really aren't conscious of it, right? But maybe blocking the fact that we actually are living a better life than we think. I imagine that's probably a common factor with people. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, I look at them and I'm like, good Lord, but you have so much. Why are you complaining? Why does that happen?
Wow. Well, so why could be a varied answer, but I will totally agree with you on this. People often do not self-evaluate how they're doing well at all. And I think it's connected in a lot of ways to this idea that if you think good thoughts about yourself, if you brag about yourself, you are somehow a bad person. And we learned that as kids. And so we learn to look away from these great things about our lives. And we stop being in gratitude. And gratitude is one of the fastest ways to get out of things like a depressed mind state or an anxious mind state. Getting back to, wow, I have a roof over my head and I have food on the table, and even if it's hard to do that, those things are there right now. And feeling grateful for the smallest things, and then build up to the bigger things, but starting with the little ones so we can start feeling better about us right now in this moment.
And I love how you say now, because so many people get lost in something that happened 20, 30 years ago to them, 15 years ago, 5 days ago. Some people get lost in, well, if I only have this in 10 years, if I only have this in 10 minutes. And people really don't cultivate the now. How do we is there an actionable tip that gets us instantly back in the now? I know I've had to be in the now because of the soundboard tonight, but how do we get back? How do we get back in the now, Greta? I really want to know.
Besides slapping ourselves silly, what can we do?
Well, I do think that our blocks around this are a little bit varied. So I'm going to focus on the one that I see the most. And that is, people have a lot of things going on in their head, a lot of noise. To come back to the now really fast, if you go in, and I did this with you, Judy, so you're going to know what I'm talking about. I encourage people to get into their body, into how their body feels right then in that moment, and focus there and try not to judge how it feels. You might feel good, you might feel bad, you might feel tight, you might feel heavy, all different things, but just allowing yourself to be in your body for a short period of time will start to quiet your mind and bring you back into this moment.
Well, I just sat there very peacefully, and I was like, well, I don't feel tight. I feel slightly nervous. But other than that, I'm giggling and I have a wide smile on my face, so that's a good thing. And Greta,
Kristin, you must have to do that with acting.
All the time.
To some extent.
All the time. all the time. I have to check in.
Right.
Is this me feeling this, or is this a character? Especially with heavy emotion.
Let's talk about listening to other voices. Jeez.
Oh yeah, and
Right,
and talking
right.
back to them, right? Well, and also having to create a fear response that looks real is an art form too. But
yeah.
Greta, I was thinking about it too, and speaking about the arts, and this is something that you and JoAnn actually have in common, is that you're actually a great patron of the arts yourself, with working with Estrofest and Seen and Heard Arts Festival. How did you get into that, and how does being artistic in any way, shape, or form really contribute to our well-being? Should we be more artistic?
Oh yeah, we definitely should be more artistic. I feel like it's not. You read my bio from a while ago. I must have left it up somewhere. I did that quite a number of years ago, and
Kristin doesn't miss a thing, Greta.
I lucked out getting in with this group. It was a group of amazing women in Atlanta, and it didn't last past a year or two. But I got to tell you, when they put this Estrofest on, I mean, there were, people doing little shows that were fantastic. I mean, the paintings, it was just amazing. All the artists that were out there and all the different medias that were available. And I really, really lucked out having the opportunity to do that. And I didn't do it as an artist because that's not really, my art is working with people. So,
and now you're writing, that's your art too.
What was it?
I said, and now you're writing, that's your art too.
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't think about it quite like that. And yes, definitely.
That's very creative.
I do think, I think that we all have to find some way to express ourselves that's not just about, speaking to our friends about the things that we're complaining about, or even our dreams for that matter. We have to have some way to express that. And I, like a lot of my friends, they paint, other people, sometimes their art is with their body, being in good shape and feeling good about that. So I do think of art and that sort of thing in a very broad way, but we must all have a way to express ourselves and if nothing else, to enjoy how other people express their art, because that can really touch us and bring out beautiful things.
So you see as you expressing our art, not necessarily as being quote unquote creative in the arts, but releasing things about ourselves. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's how I experience it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like even like Tai Chi or yoga or things like that. That can be very. I never thought about it that way. Did you, Kristin? It's fascinating that kind of perspective, that way of thinking.
Music is not necessarily something I'm extremely talented at. I do sing, but a good piece of music will just shake me to the core, like a good symphony orchestra. Right. And that's very cathartic for me. So I can understand, I can understand what you're saying exactly. And, I have to tell you, one of the most revelatory moments of my life was standing in the British Museum seeing a Leonardo da Vinci, the Madonna of the Rocks, for the first time. And there was a moment where I felt something. And I totally understand what you're saying. And I think people really have to key into that, whether they're expressing or they're just even receiving. Some of us have to learn how to receive as much as we have to learn how to give.
Well, that's what Greta's there for. So, Greta, I really, I want to, we have about a minute and a half or so until the end of the show. Okay. But I want to get your website, coachingyourdreams.com. Is that your website?
Yes, that's my coaching website. Absolutely.
Excellent. And there are a lot of interesting articles and all kinds of stuff to read and learn about on your website. And I thank you for coming on the show and, giving us your wisdom and knowledge and, everything that you do for women and men, I'm sure.
Yes. And thank you both for letting me come on the show. You are both amazing women, and I am so honored to get this opportunity. I really am in a lot of gratitude about it. Thank you.
Well, we feel the same. Thank you so much, Greta. And everyone else next week, join us for collaboration or disintegration. I know that Kristin was talking about collaboration early on in the show, and funny enough, it's our topic next week. But seriously, we do need to work together, all of us, to build and to succeed to our highest potential. And then this next show will reveal the why and the hows of important collaborations. So we are bringing you more fantastic shows every week. Join us again or visit us at whatwomenwantradio.com. Thank you for supporting us. Good night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss, only on LA Talk Radio.